Hello and welcome to December. My name is Faye and I'm from Your Heart's Path. Welcome if you're new. We are going to journey through a handful of themes that potentially will present themselves through the month of December. We bring forward this information not to tell you what your month is going to be, but to give you an opportunity to bring awareness and consciousness to these themes if they are to arise and kind of manifest in your reality, so that you can stand from that point of almost like informed to be able to stay really super present, whether that be a challenge or a really beautiful thing, to dance with this again really consciously and participate in this co-creation of your reality. Gotta be frank with you, we're feeling pretty washed up out the other side of November. We've had a huge month of purging. For a lot of you, that means that it's manifest through physical illness. That can be sort of just viral coughs, colds, strange kind of temperature changes inside of the body. There's been like an influx of kind of heat. That can be irritation, rashes, these sorts of things kind of even coming out in the skin at this point. But Spirit really want to emphasize that this has almost been like an invitation to move into a deeper sense of purity, and not just purity from the physical body, but purity from a sense of internal clarity and also like truth. So we look at purity and not like purity like the good girl. It certainly didn't feel that way through that sort of like Scorpio season. It was very much about journeying through some of our deepest, darkest shadows, not just externally through humanity, but internally. But purity from a sense of truth. Truth is pure, purity is truth. It kind of doesn't come with all of these expectations. It's not entangled or attached to anything. It just is. And so in this purging out, we're going to almost sense there can be like a little bit of a vulnerability hangover at this point in time, but there's also what they're kind of saying, like for the first very sort of beginning chapter of November, I believe that we're working with a sense of renewing confidence. This can be that it may have felt like some of your beliefs or your ideas in regards to, I'm going to say very particular in regards to your soul mission or your purpose here, that there's been like old stuff that's wrung out. And so there can be almost like a sense of confusion right now as to like, am I on the right path? Am I doing the right thing? Am I doing well enough at what I'm doing? These sort of like, I'm going to say almost like judgment aspects or roads that were worth traveling in order to gift you the vibration of absolute certainty, confidence, self-belief, self-worth to continue actioning as you reset your goals and your intentions out the other side of this, or give you the opportunity to completely let something go. We've seen how, I better put my thing on silent, my apologies. We've seen how quickly we can sabotage our own soul's journey or our destiny this last month through doubts, through kind of chasing an old thought or feeling into these old beliefs, or even just heaviness in the body and the being, where we sort of sabotage in order to kind of like turn away from the light. And so we're twisting, we're turning towards the light now, but we're doing so from a place that feels kind of like new, and it's kind of like turning the light on in a dark room. It can take some time to let the eyes adjust. The only conflicting piece that we see from this, or the challenge, which is where this information can really help you, is that we do go into a retrograde period only about a week after we start to feel this sense of refreshment in the air. So you can have a momentary like burst of inspiration, and I want you to be really focused at that point in time and actually set some intentions that you begin really actioning through that kind of first chapter of like January into the new year. That moment of clarity is really important. Spirit is showing me like downloads kind of coming in that moment. Journal that day if you can. I kind of see this around like the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th. I know we're kind of like pre-shadow in that stage, but I do feel like there's some really beautiful insight. It's almost like time doesn't really exist in that moment. We don't feel the pressure of time, which I think a lot of you have been kind of like stressing about. And what we want to do now is kind of settle down into these spaces in the body where even though the energy is going to be trying to pull us into the mind, we're much more in that perspective of the observer to be able to witness what is different internally now, how you can feel a little lighter inside of your reality, and how you're dancing with this invitation of what I'm going to call like free will. How much of your journey is free will, how much of it you feel like is a calling that you are chasing. And also, if it is not for you, it's okay to actually let this go and let it burn right now. That doesn't need to just be purpose. This can, again, be relationships. It can be a place that you're living in. Big kind of themes inside of your body where you actually might just be out the other side of this purge at your wit's end with particular things inside of your life. And it's like, this is time to go. This can be toxic like habits. This can be relationships. It can be addictions to certain things in your life, or even in regards to health and the body, the way that you've been eating, or out of integrity. It's sort of like, okay, I know that I should be exercising and moving every day, but I'm just not going to do that. I'm choosing, I'll get to that. It's like, enough of this, I'll get to that later, or I'll do it next time. Or it's sort of, we've seen this theme of confidence, or where there is vulnerability inside of confidence, as this opportunity to bring through truth, but also deep integrity, to disperse from your reality these programs for good, these old stories for good, this lack of confidence in regards to your purpose and your mission, your internal truth for good. It's like, wash these out, and then we need to reassess. And we're going to actually take quite a practical approach through the reassessment of making this intention 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, or again with that opportunity in the first kind of week of January to reset your goals and place an intention that is not only realistic, but also has enough structure and routine that you can flow in and around it still quite intuitively. If you feel like you've been completely out of body in the last month, you've got to come back in. And this can mean like tapping into the free resources of Mother Nature, and it can also be going and actually getting some support to come back into your body, because it may have been triggered from the intensity of this purge and the emotions and the potential grief or sadness or opening up of other realities or bleed throughs or other things that kind of happen in these other dimensions that have made it really challenging for your spirit and for your soul to stay inside of your body. So if you need more support there, please do so, because it's sort of watching life at the moment from outside of the body looking in. It's going to feel like complete and utter depletion. As it does, we need to energize the body, and it's with our spirit to be inside of the body. So, calling yourself back in, I tell you this all the time, but like, where am I? Ask yourself that question all the time. I love this, and Spirit are giving you the invitation to create an affirmation that becomes your anchor for your focus for the next month. That can be, I would almost suggest that this be around themes like self-worth or self-belief or confidence or your relationship to freedom and abundance. I do feel like abundance is a massive big theme. It's not only collective, but it's manifesting in different ways individually. You may be on a road where you're like, awesome, I've got this. Like my relationship with money is feeling really healthy and I'm kind of flowing with it. And well done, congratulations, because that's taken a lot of work to get to that space. Or you're in more of an innovation space. So if you're feeling like you're one step before that, where you're kind of in the victim of your reality, there is invitation for creation and innovation, making changes in your life to not only have a healthier relationship with money internally, but start to execute some of your creative abilities, finishing off projects through the end of December. And I actually feel like there can be some beautiful opportunities that do start to come in, or that you create, to kind of give you that up level, or moving into those spaces where the light kind of comes on and you can start to fill up your spirit or your world or your life with your beautiful ideas. I know that sounds kind of strange, but what they're showing me, and I'm just going to try and describe the vision that they're showing me, and I've used this once already, but the light kind of comes on in the room, and the light is you, but it's been really dark all around. And so not only do the eyes need to adjust to this new feeling, but even just taking up space right now can be something that feels kind of vulnerable, or like going over to that corner of your reality over there and taking your light and your awareness over there. It can just mean that we need to tread with almost like some awareness, not fear, but just to go like kind of gently. When we've had moments where it's like not feeling inspired, the body is really exhausted, the lights kind of feel like they've been off because we've been going within. The moment it kind of comes back on and we're in that other life, it can feel like a little bit of pressure. It can feel a little bit overwhelming. So we need to be mindful that we're not going into overwhelm right now, and that we're just treading really mindfully and really carefully. If you're in that space, I know we've kind of gone off on all these different tangents. Sometimes I do that. I am in a little bit of a rush. I have a client like half an hour. So I was kind of just like jumping with the download as it came in. I feel like if you've been really super caught up inside of the emotions in regards to this experience that we've been going through, and that's where things have been feeling really heavy, like in the heart, the invitation is to actually start to access some of your vision. And that doesn't mean disconnecting from that space in the body, but it means that we don't need to figure anything else out here. The purge has been quite naturally occurring. It hasn't needed to be forced out or wrung out. It's happened and we haven't really had much, almost like much influence in the capacity to what has been squeezed. So moving into vision space or imagination, not disconnection, but vision, to see what is available to you in this room where the light is starting to come on is a really comforting space, because there is this anchor of truth where I like the softness of the vulnerability, where the heart is really open and there's this sense of like, well, I've got nothing to lose. It's like there's less opportunity for illusion to get in the way, and it just feels really pure. It feels really kind. It feels really calm. And because there's not too much clutter there in this room or in this space, I actually see it almost like completely empty, and there's an opportunity to bring what you want into your reality, or to receive what is there available to you from your higher self as like a download. It doesn't feel too like left field to actually kind of like manifest something brand new, or to like have this like big opportunity kind of land into that space and like kind of come out of nowhere, or to finally complete something that's been hovering over your shoulders for such a long period of time, and you're just kind of like, you know what, bugger it, I'm going to do this thing. Like, I'm just going to give it everything that I've got. I'm going to book the flights and go to the place. I'm going to sign the contract and take my favorite job. I'm going to quit what it is that I've been doing, and I'm going to devote myself to this career that I've always wanted to be on. I'm going to start exercising. I'm going to stop eating that shit. It's like this final decision point, because there's nothing else in the way to kind of, I almost want to say like creep in to create that lesson love experience in the first place, because you've learned the lesson now and the ringing out has kind of been done. So I like the sense of purity. And I like the sense of using vision as a tool so as not to exhaust the emotional body or reminisce or cycle backward right now. It can feel almost like numbness is not the right word, but it can sort of start to feel a little bit more spacious. And that's a really beautiful place to put some intention into what it is that you want to be feeling. Softness, gentleness, presence, calmness, relaxation, all of these kind of soft, open emotions are going to be really supportive right now for the energy in which we're transitioning into. These last couple of weeks through December, the last couple of weeks of the year, if you're not in your body, it's going to kind of just feel like life just kind of happened and it was chaotic. And I want to say be really mindful, because there are kind of other forces at play at the moment, and there is a lot of like yucky opportunities for less than love spirits to interfere with humanity through these periods of the year, when there's a lot of kind of people are really super intoxicated, so they're out of their bodies a lot of stress with family celebrations, these sorts of things the spirit doesn't want to be in, so your body is like an open highway. I'd just say be really careful. If you are emotionally exhausted, if you are someone that struggles to stay grounded, just be careful of the toxicity that's going into your body, including like movies, relationships, all these sorts of things. If it's a no for you, please say no. Sometimes setting boundaries is not about setting boundaries with other people. It's about setting boundaries with ourselves. I notice this through periods of like needing to kind of like hermit and cave for me. And sometimes I feel like I step out too early because I feel like I should, because that's what society thinks that I should be doing. But actually internally, the boundary with me is to honor and respect that I need this much time on myself in order to kind of recalibrate before I go out into the world or start to share my energy with other people externally. And so your boundaries with yourself, with your spirit, with your soul, that's kind of like a line of inquiry that I feel like is really valuable right now, as there is this absolute preparation to see the truth through what has been quite like a clouded, emotional and abrupt situation. So don't look at this like exhaustion, look at it like an opportunity. And the will of your higher self or the will of your ego, the will of your heart or the will of the past, it's up to you really at this point. And we're going to start to see that. That can be almost like overwhelmed from the sense of responsibility. If that's the case, please simplify things, okay? There's no rush in this life. There's no rush with your soul. We certainly want to be living and experiencing and growing and, learning from the situation at hand, but by no means do we need to kind of set off on a sprint at this point in time. They really show me again like this kind of like big cat energy. I actually feel like an awakening kind of happening internally, where not only does that strength kind of come through like the big cats have been in the vision, the tigers, the lions, the leopards kind of coming out from that transformation, that from the darkness into the light. But I feel like they're kind of like archetypes that could be danced. I feel like they're energies that would love to be played with. There can be signs and synchronicities around lions, tigers, leopards, just like a kind of like a deep connection there. We're not obviously in Leo season, but I kind of feel like there can be this invitation to feel proud. There can be an invitation, not proud in arrogance, proud as like, whoa, I made that experience. I'm out the other side of that. This kind of like licking it all off and like going on about the journey, not reminiscing on the past and just staying really focused in this present moment here as to what is kind of occurring. There has been a massive wave of awakening, and this awakening continues to happen. What happens when we go through an awakening like this, it takes some time, obviously, for the outer reality to kind of catch up with the inner reality. So please stop putting pressure on yourself to have this all figured out in here right now. This can be a really great time to just sort of drop into these extra sensory abilities, to be able to see the energy at play, to be able to really feel it, and to trust your inner knowing when it comes to kind of taking action, or is it rest today, and that daily kind of check-in, whilst affirming your affirmation that keeps your you kind of grounded and anchored into what is right for you right now, especially in regards to like your worth and believing in yourself and having the courage to take the steps necessary to experience freedom. It's important to kind of stay on track. And I think what we can go into all different corners of this room, so to speak, and kind of then end up like out the other side, like, oh God, I don't know what just happened or where I am or what I'm doing. So this can be a really good time for like talk therapy too. Just kind of like nutting things out and reorganizing, sort of like placing things on the shelf where they need to go. I think clutter is going to be something that's like completely overwhelming this month. If you're experiencing that at home, good time to do like tip runs. I'm all about this all the time. Cleanse your cupboards and bed sheets, old underwear, whatever it is, get rid of the old stuff. I like minimalism, even though it can feel like there's actually almost like it's not easy for everyone to be a minimalist, especially if you're sharing space with other people. But they kind of give me some emphasis around this, like almost feel like it's like, are you like meeting people halfway and reassessing what this is through like communication? Because it's not that things aren't always working or it's not always perfect. It's more just that if we're sharing space with others or we're living with others or we're very closely intertwined with others, that sometimes we are looking at a co-creation energy, and sometimes just naming it like and affirming that boundary between you all, it can kind of just like, it actually does that organization thing. It's not here in the mind anymore. It's just kind of flowing and free. if you are one of those people that has been having relationships with spirit babies over the last 6 months, if you've been pondering whether or not motherhood or fatherhood is for you, they said something around conception being like really super high this month. Pregnancy, I just feel like it's not a warning. It's more just to bring some awareness in there. I can kind of see like a big wave of bubbers like wanting to come in, souls wanting to come through. It's almost like a net, and like that net kind of comes through, and like there's a big rush here. So check that. If you haven't been having those conversations with your partner, it's a really beautiful time to as well, because there's sort of like the veil, if you want to call it that. It's always thin, but the veil between, it's almost like information around parenthood can come through really easily right now, because we've had a lot of like cleanse out, clear out, old stuff, right? So our old family programs and patterns and things can kind of loosen up. So that's certainly something that I can kind of see at play here. And out the other side of that, I sort of want to move into like that last like chapter of December, where I know there's a lot of things going on with like Christmas and New Year's and these celebration points and times, but it's going to be a really, 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 really beautiful time for creativity, for visualization type manifestation experiences, for art, for bringing through your projects and finishing them off. Like I really want to say like finish your projects, finish your projects, finish your projects. Even if it doesn't eventuate or go anywhere, it's almost like this feeling of like completion. So creative intentions, creative manifestations, creative projects in that last week. Even though I know that sounds strange and chaotic, take things outside if you want to. Be careful not to overdo it socially. As I said, please be aware there are other forces kind of at play here, but it feels like it starts to kind of lighten up at a point of celebration, even if that's just like, oh, I'm used to this experience now. You know, your sensitivity's been amped up again with this kind of like wave of awakening. So it can be like a beautiful adjustment period where you're like, okay, I got this. Like I'm in the flow of this now. So do take time to celebrate, do take time to reflect. I don't really journal unless there's like something like really heavy going on in my life. It's something that I would love to place an intention to like just get a little bit more religious about as far as like a practice. So perhaps this is a point in time where we bring that element of discipline through and create intention for a brand new practice in regards to like our affirmation and these other themes that you will be individually working with that kind of support your overall purpose, your will, to kind of get you set up for that astrological new year in like March, where we're kind of like taking on a whole new wave. So this can feel very much like a completion energy, but also with an opportunity to see kind of into a new reality. And inside of that new reality, there's like just enough information and insight to start planting those seeds now and affirming new ways of being, new levels of confidence, new ways of shining your light into your life to start to experience that brand new vibration that wants to come in at a pace that is right for your system. People are often much more afraid of the light than they are of the dark. And I think we've seen that fear of success, or that fear of getting it right, or that fear of actually making the right decision and what that means, that fear of becoming healthier and what that means with your relationships or your creative projects. It's like this beautiful intertwining of, I guess, like a new perception of like the shadow in some sense, like less afraid of the darkness and more of like curious about the light, because it's strange. Like they're almost showing me like how the dark can almost feel like quite seductive, and how the light can be kind of like blinding and a bit like, that person's just like too much for me. Where are you too much for yourself? And I think the insights and the epiphanies we have had is like this massive big monthly experience of all of this data that has been collected. And through the month of December, I love this kind of finalization. We organize all of this data now and we plant some new intentions. We use affirmation, we use a vision, some tools of to manifest, but also to tie off loose ends in regards to projects. That includes things at home, to have those kind of final conversations, to affirm those boundaries more so within ourselves, but also in relation to other, so as that we can stand in our truth and not be waved by those whom are around us because they don't understand the difference or the shift internally. And it's a nice time to start to bring the light back into your reality. The light is awareness, right? The light is love. The light is truth. So there is only so much truth that we are prepared to see in one moment. Every time we have this wave of awakening, the perception changes. A relationship to our body changes. Physically, you might have lost density. Okay, that's all we have time for this month. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here this year. A big happy new year to you all, for whatever calendar that is. I usually do feel it around that March time more so. But either way, it's an opportunity to celebrate. Some of you may have holidays, so enjoy that time if you can. Rest always, I love that. I think it helps top us up to take action when those places are there. But go adventuring, go exploring. This lovely sort of Sagittarian energy is sparkly and it's bright and it's fun, and it helps us not take life so seriously. So sending you heaps of love, and I will see you in January. Okay, bye for now.